Hello, friends. Hello, friends. A tradition unlike any other.
Oh, my goodness. In your life, have you seen anything like that?
There it is! Adam Scott, a life changer. Mashed potato!
Here it comes.
This is the 19th Tee podcast. Kieran Marsh, Nathan Drudy back with you for another week. Drew, it's good to have your company. I am back from assignment being just my day job. That's why I was not here last week. You yourself have been through a bit of assignment with some gastrointestinal problems in the last couple of days. So,
who knows what's going on?
Yeah, you're looking a little faint, mate. So I'm just glad to have your company, to be fair.
We're good. I'm glad to have your company. It's nice to have you back, KM. Nice to have someone,
thank you, mate.
A proper pilot guiding the plane. We've had the first officer for the last week.
You did a fantastic job last week with Steph. Can I just say, every time she comes back on this program, she's a delight. She's honestly one of my favourites, and listening to her speak is always good fun. So if you haven't heard the chat that Drew's had last week with Steph Kyriakou, make sure you do, because she's in, I think, for big things in 2022 and beyond. Speaking of big things, there's plenty to get through this evening. Drew's the Vic Open, one of the biggest tournaments on the calendar for both the PGA and WPGA, was run and won over the weekend by the Greek freak Dimitrios Papadatos and Hannah Green, respectively. We, of course, had the Waste Management Phoenix Open, a little bit of golf over in Europe, and much, much more. So without any further ado, we'll crack on with our good friends at Gage Roads Brewing Company, WA's premier craft brewery, named after the strip of ocean between Rottnest and Fremantle. I'll be drinking a Pipe Dreams on behalf of both of us.
I'll be having a water.
As you continue to hydrate after your last couple of days.
Hydrolyte.
Yeah, good for you. Always welcome to speak to new partners as well. Wouldn't mind a contra deal with Hydrolyte. Drews, I will say this. My work that I was on, I said this to you earlier today, I did not check out of the camp down the Gold Coast, tough life, until Sunday morning. So I didn't see an awful lot of the Vic Open until the closing stages, but I know you were keenly watching because you had some spicy takes about the coverage for something new. But Dimitrios Papadatos, great friend of this podcast, is a winner again. We'll start off with the PGA side.
Yes, Dimi, very, very good performance across all 4 days, just very consistent, 65, 68, 68, 66, wins nearly $74,000 ahead of Kiwi Ben Campbell by a shot. It was, dramatic. It was a producer's dream, I guess, from a TV perspective, coming down 18 and Dimi and Ben going at it, and Dimi sort of scrambling, I guess, for lack of a term, to lock up the win. And importantly as well, worth mentioning that Dimi, Ben and Matthew Griffin have locked up spots at the Open Championship at St Andrews later in the year. So I mean, just a really classy performance from Dimi across 4 days. I mean, there are a lot of guys who really jumped out to some top quality rounds. I mean, Johnny Lyris with a 64, 66, and then 70. I think he was the 54 hole leader and then really faded on Sunday. Pikey was in contention. He was tied for the lead at one point going into the last, last handful of holes, and had 2 double bogeys in the last 7 holes, maybe. Zach Murray was there or thereabouts. So, there were some big names that were charging at Dimi, but the Greek freak, as you called him, the pride of Sydney's Greek community, held them all off to hold the trophy aloft down there at 13th Beach, which was an absolute treat, if I can just say so.
Yeah, I'm going to get your thoughts on the course in a moment, but just on Dimi, I'm sure they would have been absolutely going off at the Coogee Bay Hotel on Sunday afternoon. One of the great Sunday spots in Sydney is the Coogee Bay Hotel, and an official sponsor of Dimi. So I'm sure they were enjoying themselves, a few lemonades down there, toasting his victory. I think from what I saw of him at the PGA at Royal Queensland. I think it would be fair to say probably easing his way into his summer. I don't think he's had the results. I'm not speaking out of school either. I doubt he's had the results he'd wanted to at the beginning of the schedule across the earlier months. But look, he is at his best. He's one of the classiest of Australasia, and then when he gets his opportunities in Europe, obviously travelled a great deal with Blake Winder at the back end of last year in a couple of Challenge Tour events and circuits in Europe. It's just great to see him get another opportunity. If you haven't heard his story from the last time he played at the Open Championship, just having a chat to Tiger Woods as well, it's one of my favourite stories that's been recounted on this podcast. But I tell you what, if you're going to book a ticket, not to say that he wouldn't have enjoyed his first Open Championship, but if you're going to book a ticket to any Open Championship, to do it, Drudes, when it's heading back to St Andrews this year is incredibly special, not only for Dimi, but as you mentioned, for Benny Campbell and Matt Griffin as well. So Matt Griffin also, a little quick one there, a huge Melbourne supporter. So close to my heart. I saw a lot of the Melbourne boys getting around him on the gram for running third and booking his ticket to St Andrews. So those three, I imagine, Benny Campbell once over the disappointment of losing the consolation prize of knowing that he was on his way to St Andrews for the Open Championship there's a small group of players who can say they've played arguably golf's greatest tournament at the home of golf.
Yeah, and he's making his major debut there. Ben Campbell. Dimi obviously played previously at Royal Portrush, I think was the year that he said that he was over, if I'm doing my maths correctly. Obviously, Matty Griffin's played in 2017, I believe, as well. They said on the broadcast. So, really good little contingent heading over there, and absolutely deserving of it. I think it was. I kind of joked there that it was a producer's dream, but there were some really good storylines in this. I guess obviously Dimi and Ben battling it out for the title, but then you could throw a blanket over a number of players. I mean, Matt Griffin at 16 under, Josh Younger was outstanding, finishing at 15 under. David Micheluzzi and Johnny Lyris were at 14 under. And then, sort of 3 shots back, Brad Kennedy, Pikey, Peter Wilson, Zach Murray, all of these guys were vying for that third and final spot at the Open Championship. So there were some great stories to be told throughout the week, throughout Sunday. But yeah, it was a very, very good tournament. The Vic Open, 13th Beach, never fails to disappoint. It's great to see a friend of the pod winning in Dimi Papadatos. Obviously, I was certainly rooting for Dimi.
You've mentioned the course a couple of times now, Drudes. As I said at the top there, you did watch a lot more than I did. But to be fair, we've seen 13th Beach a number of times now host this tournament, and it's quite remarkable when you consider the quality of golf on the Melbourne Sandbelt. That you have a venue now starting to take a bit of a mortgage on a tournament similar to what Royal Pines did for the PGA for the best part of 10 years. Hasn't got the decade tenure just yet, but it has absolutely found a home as this event at 13th Beach, and such an innovative format with the mixed event there as well. I think maybe just getting out of the Sandbelt, getting down on the peninsula a little bit, the conditions there, it's got all the hallmarks of the Sandbelt from a course perspective, but you add in the fire, at times fiery conditions being so exposed. It's a great little course.
It is, and I think that's what really makes 13th Beach what it is. I think you've hit it on the head there. They could easily take this tournament to a Royal Melbourne or a Kingston Heath or a Peninsula Kingswood or any of the plethora of courses that are in that Sandbelt region, but for them to take it to 13th Beach so consistently, and for the course to be prepared as well as it is consistently. And you're absolutely right. The wind adds another element. I think the Sandbelt has firm, fast fairways. It's got very hard greens. It's got certainly, there's a distinct style to the Sandbelt. But what 13th Beach adds is that, and I put this in inverted commas, linksy element to it with the wind coming in. And we saw at times that it was not wreaking havoc, but it was certainly tough conditions. And the chat we recorded with Steph Kyriakou last week was after the first, I think she might have played a practice round, or it might have even been after the first round. I think last Thursday it was actually, so after the first round. And she said the Tuesday and Wednesday, the practice rounds were phenomenal conditions, absolutely fine. And then Thursday, it just started blowing, and it was just a lot more difficult than what she'd initially planned for. So I love that element to it. And the course is just so well prepared. I mean, there's so many fantastic make or break holes. I mean, I think it's 12 might be the par 3 that's only like 100 meters at max is 100 meters. Pikey made a double bogey on it yesterday. We saw Whitney Hillier, who we'll get to in the WPGA wrap. She had a bit of trouble with it, I think, on the Saturday. So there's challenges across holes that don't necessarily look like they would be that challenging, whether it's a short par 3 or a long par 5, whatever that might be. So I really hope it continues at 13th Beach, because I think it's an easy option for them to take it somewhere else in the Sandbelt. But I think it adds a nice little element. That's not to say that I wouldn't like to see a tournament on the Sandbelt, because I'm just scrolling through the schedule here, and I don't actually think there is one in the Sandbelt. Could be completely wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure there's nothing in the Sandbelt on the
I believe
schedule this year.
Kingston Heath hosted half of the event that was run by
Jeff Ogilvie. Yes. So nothing officially on the tour, though.
No. Yeah. Let's not get bogged down into officially sanctioned events and those that aren't. But yes. Officially, you're right. The PGA of Australasia does not go officially to the Sandbelt across this summer, which does seem criminal. But look, I completely agree and endorse with what you say. Here at the 19th tee, we love ourselves some conditions. And 13th Beach, as I said, it's got all the quality in terms of the course layout, setup, the immaculate greenkeeping, and all the unique elements of Sandbelt golf with the conditions that you don't get in suburban Melbourne. I'm a massive fan of this tournament and have been for a number of years now. And a big part of that is where it's played year in, year out. So more of it, I say. Just a quick look, Drudes, before we switch over to the WPGA at the Order of Merit, the all-important Order of Merit, because the Vic Open is one of those significant tournaments in terms of purse and its ability to influence the Order of Merit. A reminder that the top 3 players at the end of the Australasian season, but from an Order of Merit perspective, will earn their European Tour card. So Jed Morgan, despite finishing well back, I think he finished at 1 under, did Jed, just inside the cut line for the week. He sits on top quite comfortably, as we said the night that we spoke to him. I think a day or two after his victory at the PGA, no one's going to catch him. He's what is he there? He's 73,000 clear of the next closest person in second. He's Andrew Dott. Anthony Quayle sits third, and courtesy of his win this weekend, Dimi Papadatos has rocketed up the list. So he now sits in fourth. If I can do my maths correctly, only $700 behind Anthony Quayle. So Timmy's had a great week in terms of locking up a firm tour card as well. Louis Dobler sits in fourth. Brad Kennedy in sixth. Ben Campbell, another big leap from him, courtesy of his second place finish. And then Daniel Gale, who I just also wanted to make mention of, write this down because he missed a cut. That won't happen again.
No.
I almost fell off my chair. I think it was come off the back of the second, I think, the week before. And we've been saying that he'll absolutely win this summer, and then he doesn't play the weekend, which is very unlike Gailey. So that's I would think, because we take a bit of a drop off. We started to take a bit of a drop off after Gailey. So you would think that with the New South Wales Open, the only other real event of significance by way of a purse in a couple of weeks' time, that really you've probably got 6, maybe 5 guys shooting for 2 spots as it pertains to European Tour cards.
Yeah, and I think the challenge there might be, I mean, there's guys like Louis Dobler who we know won't play the full season here. And we're obviously not sure about plans from other players within that sort of contention. I mean, I would probably maybe down to Jack Thompson, I would say is still a chance at the moment. So yeah, I think there are going to be guys who will either head overseas to Corn Ferry, Q schools, and Corn Ferry Tour, try and Monday queue into all of those. So I think there might be a little bit of movement in there, and there might be a bit of real room, but Jed Morgan is absolutely locked up at the moment. And yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what that race really looks like. I mean, Andrew Dote is still quite a long way ahead in second as well. So you're absolutely right. There is only really one big tournament left that's probably going to have a massive shake-up of the order of merit there.
So we Victoria this week, regional Victoria. In fact, the TPS Murray River, a new event this year in honour of Jared Lyle at the Cobram Barooga Old Course. Prize purse of $200,000. 3rd to the 6th of March, you've got the TPS Sydney, hosted by Braith and Aston, another good friend of the show. And then 10th to the 13th of March, you've got the TPS Hunter Valley, which is at the Oak Cypress, which is a beautiful course in the Hunter Valley. And that's when we head into the Golf Challenge New South Wales Open, 17th to 20th of March at Concord. So still a couple of events left, but yeah, I'd say all roads will lead to Concord Golf Club in terms of really your last roll of the dice to probably make a significant jump up if you're not already at the pointy end of the order of merit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pause there for you to say something.
No, I just agree. Just
to be
agree.
fair, I didn't leave it very open-ended, so that was a poor segue from me.
WPGA.
Speaking of segues, let's head to the WPGA. So Hannah Green did a shoey. This might be the best thing in Australian golf since Scotty had a green jacket put on him, potentially. I don't want to get too hyperbolic, but for those who don't recall, I think we probably told this story at the back end of last year. Herself and Suo had made a promise to each other that they'd do a shoey next time they won their tournament. Don't recall Sue doing it at the Royal Queensland Golf Club. Mind you, the members probably frown on that. And Hannah said bugger it and did a shoey. Quite comfortable in the end. 6-stroke victory over Karis Davison and Whitney Hillier in a tie for second, also at 13th Beach. But look, to be fair, this is probably the performance we've been waiting for from our premier female golfer. On home shore, she's had to wait a while given the punitive restrictions and your home state to be able to get over here and compete. And I think finally, with the opportunity to do so, she's delivered a performance that we all absolutely expected from a class player.
Yeah, and by her own admission, she's been waiting a long time to win on Australian soil. It seems crazy that she hasn't actually won as a pro in Australia. I mean, she's won some pro-ams, but yeah, she hasn't actually won a big event. So fantastic to see her hold the trophy aloft 6 shots, as you mentioned. I mean, if you look at Karis and both Whitney's kind of rounds there that really hurt their chances. Karis on that second day on the Creek course with a 76, and Whitney on Saturday when she was leading the tournament, actually going into that Saturday round with a 75, and really couldn't get anything going on Sunday to put any pressure on Hannah. So it was quite comfortable in the end. I know she did say that she was nervous walking down the last hole. I mean, she had a 6-shot lead. I'm not sure what she was particularly nervous about, but she certainly is a deserving victor of the trophy, and certainly looked like she enjoyed the celebrations afterwards. Saw some beers being drunk off the plate as well later on as in the celebration. So looked like she enjoyed it anyway.
Really set herself up, I think, from the opening round. I mean, I'm looking here. Obviously played the beach course for rounds 3 and 4, but the field was split across the creek and beach, a bit similar to what they do at the American Express, the PGA West and the Nicholas course. Mm-hmm. So you look at the creek scores. I think it's only her and our good friend Whitney Hillier I can see who hit in the 60s. Yeah, there's a lot of scores, and not even in the early 70s, mid 70s on the creek course there across the first 2 days. And Hannah Green hits a 67, and she's off and running. Yeah. So look, I think, as I said, it's almost an impossible position to put yourself in when you are Hannah Green, or on the men's side, Min Woo Lee was easily the biggest name coming home to compete this summer. The level of expectation, it's it's a no-win situation unless you win the tournament. And so for her to come and do so such a convincing manner as well, 6 shots was really, really impressive. And look, she's such a great ambassador for golf in our country. I think the way that not only she's clearly a class player, but just the energy I think she brings to the course. She's got a little bit of swagger, which I love. I hope that we get to see her back at her best over in the States this year, Drews. Back in the form that she was when she's winning major tournaments. So this could be the kickstart of another big year for Hannah Green, and fingers crossed that it will be.
Yeah.
I do want to mention a couple of other people here. Karis Davison has had an awesome summer. She was super impressive when I watched her in the flesh at Royal Queensland at the WPGA Championship there. But she's continued, and to have a T2 with our good friend, one of the best friends of this podcast, Whitney Hillier. Great to see Whitney Hillier in form at 7 under. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Karis, particularly a player of relatively young age and still, I'd say, finding her feet from a professional aspect. And she's been really consistent across this summer.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It's hard for me to separate the two, but I'm almost. We know how talented Steph Kyriakou is and what she's going to take over to the LPGA,
Yeah.
but Karis, I think, is more unassuming than Steph. Like, she just kind of goes about her business, and Steph broke through with this great win at Bonville and got all the love and all the attention, and Karis has just kind of gone about her business and just done whatever. So I'm really interested to see how she goes over on the LPGA Tour this year, because it absolutely would not surprise me if she put together a handful of really good performances over there on the world's biggest stage. She's kind of got a don't give a fuck attitude about her to kind of her own game. She just wants to go out and play, and I love that about her. So wouldn't surprise me to see her win.
An elite putter of the ball as well, which I think when you go and you transplant your game to the LPGA, I suppose, schedule of courses with some green complexes that I think it's safe to say are cut above generally what you experience here in Australia. If you take nothing else other than your ability to putt well, you'll hold yourself in good stead. You probably play more weekends than you won't, and if at least you're out on the weekend, you give yourself a chance. So, yeah, she is an elite putter of the ball from what I saw, and I agree with you. I look forward to seeing how she progresses. Similarly, I want to make mention of Cassie Porter. So the WPGA Championship at Royal Queensland was her first start as a professional, and that's what are we talking, a month ago, and here she finds herself in a tie for 4th at outside of WPGA, easily the biggest event on the WPGA calendar for the year. So a really impressive start to the professional career for Cassie Porter.
Yeah, absolutely. She's going to be a very, very good player as well. Had a good round of 71 on Sunday, which, aside from maybe 1 or 2 other players, was the one of the better rounds of the day. So, yeah, she finishes alongside Suo, as you mentioned, and the only other one I wanted to shout out was Kirsten Rudgley. I've got massive raps on this young amateur finishing T7. She had a 70 on Sunday. So just shout out to Kirsten for another good performance in a professional event.
Interesting one. I must admit, I'm trying to Google it now because I only saw her post on Instagram, but Grace Kim DQ'd.
Yeah. Not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if you're across the findings. I have been Googling. I didn't want to message her, but I don't know.
Grace, can you let us know why you got disqualified, please?
Yeah, so I wasn't able to find any information.
Probably not going to get a response. No, it seems and was quite what's the word?
Apologetic.
Shocked. Yeah. Well, definitely apologetic, but also quite shocked herself. Yeah. So whatever it was, generally in those situations, it might be signing an incorrect scorecard or something of the like. But yeah, just unusual for for there not to be much news out of that. So we wish her well. Hopefully all is well. But yeah, a DQ for Grace Kim in unusual circumstances.
Absolutely.
Drew, so that's probably all
Yes.
from the Vic Open. I do want to turn our attention to the PGA, and I don't know, I mean, you certainly didn't make mention of it before we hit the record button, and you certainly haven't done so through the first, 20 minutes of recording this, but I'm wearing a special hat tonight in honour of just the latest in a long line of PGA Tour winners from the great University of Texas. So for his breakthrough victory, doing so on the third playoff hole, he pushed a putt right, a little 6-footer to win in regulation on the 76 hole, and took him 3 goes at it up the 18th, which we'll get to how fucking boring that was at Phoenix, given the options. But Scotty Scheffler, this has been, I think, the worst kept secret in golf, the longest time coming for him to be. I find it incredible to say that he's a first-time PGA Tour winner.
Yeah, absolutely. That when they said that on the broadcast today, that genuinely took me aback. Congratulations to the Texas Longhorns network, mate. I guess what's your football program worth? Like $180 million or something.
Proof you can't buy wins. You cannot buy.
You can now under the NIL. So that's a topic for another time. I mean, how Texas A&M have gone from the one of the worst recruiting classes to the best recruiting class in the history of recruiting football after the introduction of being able to pay players. But that's all right. We'll get to that another time. Scotty Scheffler was tremendous this afternoon or this morning. Actually, I was catching a bit of this and saw the playoff. Had to be pretty clutch down the stretch. Made a really nice birdie on 17. Not super aggressive on 17. I think that's one of the best holes on this course is that risk reward par 4. And yeah, just got the job done. Patrick Cantlay had an opportunity to win it on 18, but missed the putt. Only one birdie on the back 9, which was quite unusual from Pat Cantlay. And I think Xander Schauffele was the same, who finished at 15 under with Sahith Theegala and Brooks Koepka as well. So very boring playoff. Up and down 18 3 times. But yeah, Scotty Scheffler, I think, is a guy who, as I say, took me aback that this was his first victory. I thought that he'd won previously, and we host a golf podcast every week.
Almost as surprising as the fact he's only 25. Looks about 40 as well. Does Scott Scheffler?
He's in the John Rahm category.
He's in the John Rahm category. Hits one of the lowest rounds of the day today. I'm scrolling through here. There's only a handful, 2 or 3 66s. Horschel's one, Thomas is another today. So he's 67 alongside Cantlay 67, 2 of the lowest rounds of the day. Playoff was interesting in the sense that they both started really well. Both absolutely minced their respective drives the first time round, and then both got the wobbles. Both pushed their drive far right, and Scheffler did again, to be fair. Remarkable shot approach into the 18th for the third time of the playoff, and then hold would have been close to 20-footer to put the pressure back on Cantlay. So, yeah, Scheffler is. It's funny. I'm casting my mind back to Ryder Cup last year. Don't believe he was one of the automatic selections. He didn't qualify on points, but he played, and it was like the most obvious of selections for a 24-year-old guy at the time who'd never won.
Yeah,
he's just, there's something about him. I think it's the for starters, it's the build. He's the quintessential modern day PGA athlete, right? He's probably 6'3", 6'4". He's built, but not in a heavy set way. Like it's all kind of proportional, and the power that he gets is phenomenal. So, you get a sense of maybe it's a, once it rains it pours situation. Not going to say he's going to rack up, 6 this year, but it's remarkable to think that he hadn't won, given his stature within the game already. And I certainly don't think it'll be the last time we see him atop the leaderboard. Before we move on, Banner Day, Drews. I will mention, of course, he's a fellow member of the alumnus of the University of Texas, but Banner Day for Highland Park High School. Is this ringing any bells for you?
No, please.
So Highland Park is a fairly affluent area of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
The Highland Park High School counts among its former alumnus one Scott Scheffler and also one Matthew Stafford.
Right.
So a fair day for the Highland Park High School to have a winner on the PGA Tour and also the Super Bowl winning quarterback of the Los Angeles Rams on the same day.
Very
good
good
trivia for you.
I like that. I like that. Very good Super Bowl, by the way, as well.
It was. I was hoping for the Bengals, to be fair.
Same.
The Rams are a bit.
You know that I love Joe Burrow.
Smoking Joe, baby.
Just what he brings to the game and what he did at the college level was phenomenal. Like the great one of if not the greatest college footballers of all time. Just he broke every record that you could think of, led LSU to a national championship. And once Smoking Joe goes, they go to shit and they fire their coach.
And it's funny, we go off a little bit of tangent here, but the path is littered with people who did that. Outstanding college careers, generational college careers, Heisman Trophy winners, national championship winners, and couldn't, for whatever reason, whether it was a transition, whether it was the program they landed in, chemistry, just for whatever reason, couldn't convert. And he, in his second year, is taking a fairly, without, I don't think it's being a fair, unheralded team. I mean, he has alongside of him in his college LSU teammate, arguably what will probably go on to be a generational receiver in Jamar Chase. Joe Mixon's handy in the running back position. Hasn't got a great O-line, to be fair.
Yeah. We saw that today when he gets sacked 7 times. Most in Super Bowl.
Second year at the NFL level takes his team to a Super Bowl. So he's a special talent, Joe Burrow.
He is.
Just couldn't get the chocolates today. We digress significantly. A couple of things I want to speak about at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. Xander Schauffele put himself in a position good and close. Set your fucking watch to it. Sahith Theegala. I don't know how much of this you saw.
Yeah.
Unbelievable story. So comes in on an exemption to play this. He's a Corn Ferry Tour player of some promise. Like it's not like they plucked him out of obscurity. So Theegala's got a little bit of buzz around him as a Corn Ferry Tour player, future PGA Tour player for sure. But I think the ride that we took with him, so unusual that he didn't lead at the end of every round, but he led at the end of every day. So he only got through 16 holes on the first day because that's what happens at Waste Management. Everything slows down because of the influences on the course. And then he led again on day 2 and again on day 3, and then gets the wobbles at the back end. And we've got, I don't know if you saw this, but his brother's flown in from the other side of the country, New Jersey, sees him for the first time on the 8th hole. We're getting emotional. We're hugging the brother. Just a lot happening today for this guy who, there was a huge opportunity here. This is, I think, it's not a WGC and it's not like a, Arnold Palmer Invitational or the like, but this is one of the blue ribbon events on the PGA Tour. There's no doubt about that. And the doors that it would have opened for him to win this tournament, and he pushed all his chips in on the 17th. And we're talking a matter of inches, a bouncing ball, really, that has cost him a round. And the emotion that he showed after the round, I think, was heartbreaking, whilst at the very same time, like just really special to see that a guy that it means so much to someone. I think we get so caught up in the guys that are not to a fault, but they're robotic, right? Because they are that good and they can just turn up and rinse and repeat. But when a guy like that comes along and you just get caught up in a little bit of a story for a few days, And then he gets pressed with a few questions afterwards, and he starts to tear up, and it's like, shit, okay, it actually means something. This is like if you and I got an opportunity to go and play the West Management, we had a good run for 3.5 days and cocked it up in the last 3 holes, we probably would choke up ourselves.
Yeah.
It was cool to watch.
It was. I think, this is the second time that he's kind of been in this position this year. Sanderson Farms was the other time. I think he was even leading after a couple of rounds there, I believe. Just looking at his scorecard here, and also finished T25 at the Farmers Insurance, which wasn't terrible. So I completely agree. I think it's fantastic to see someone show a bit of emotion. I thought it was, watching back to see his brother. What'd you say it was? The eighth hole, was it, roughly?
I think it was the 8th that he ran into it. Yeah.
That was rude. Like, why come in on the 8th hole when your brother's
doing?
Like, I don't know. I get it, and I'm being facetious, but seriously, like, not ideal. Like, derailed him. All I'm saying, on 17 though, like, I absolutely love the play. I'm all in on that. And
Absolutely.
He was all in. He had a genuine crack. He had a tilt, and if that had come off, he's probably winning the tournament. He was at 16 under at that point. He probably would have made at least, had an eagle putt, if not birdie, takes him to 17 under, and he wins the tournament by a shot. All in all, he loses, but good on him. I think it was absolutely the right play. It's why 17 is such a fantastic hole on that course. 100%. For everything that 16 is worth from the showcase hole of what waste management is about, it's phenomenal. I love when they get to 17 and the risk reward that it shows. Yeah, go for it, but you might cost yourself the tournament, as Sahith Theegala did.
Yeah, for that very reason, I would have loved to see them go back up 17 for the playoff, to be fair.
100%.
I think that's, for me, that's, if you're going to repeat 3 times one hole at Phoenix, make it the 17th.
Yeah.
Ask some questions.
Agree.
But look, I felt for him, but I'd be surprised if we don't see Sahith Theegala continue to compete in tournaments. He's got the game. He's just got a great story. Like, I love that. I absolutely love that. So yeah, it was nice. I think it was a nice little, because I'm going to bring us down to the tournament itself. We tend to get the same thing out of this tournament every year, and it's a as I said, it's a blue ribbon event, one of the blue ribbon events, but it's a calling card, I think, for a certain type of golf fan. And it was nice to get something a little bit different this week. And we got that, I think, in the journey of Sahith Theegala over 4 rounds. So that was cool. So the tournament. Now, I want to preface this by saying I understand what we've been saying for the better part of 2.5 years. Get that. I think it's okay to want everything that happens at Phoenix, but also realise that I think it can only happen at Phoenix.
Yeah.
Like the last couple of days have been wild. Like,
yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Sam Ryder, that was an awesome moment. Carlos Ortiz today, aces again in the final round, awesome moment. But I don't know if I love, like, JT flew the green and chipped in for a birdie, and we had a 15-minute pause in play because we had to clear the green of beer cans.
Yeah.
Harry Higgs, as much as I love Harry Higgs, drills a 15-foot birdie putt and rips his shirt off, and his playing partner, Joel Damon, does the same. They're doing helicopters. Again, 10 to 15-minute pause in play because the green's full of, Bud Light cans or Michelob Ultras or whatever the fuck they drink, and who the title sponsor is. But that's just not repeatable. So I think it's great, but it's great on one stop. And I think there are elements of Phoenix that you can start to incorporate without every tournament having to have a 16th hole.
I agree. I think that's what makes it so great, though, 100%. Is that it's not repeatable. It is that the scarcity of 16. at all other tournaments. You know, that's what Phoenix is. Like, I think everyone knows it is. It's just a massive piss up. That's all it is. and I'm fine with it. Like, I don't have an issue. I know there are people out there who don't love what waste management is about and what 16 brings to the game and the look it brings to the game. And it's not how golf should be played and the traditionalist. And there are elements to it. Absolutely. I agree. Like, throwing beer cans on the green to me seems interesting. Like, surely that would be leaving some sort of mark. Like, I'm not certain. Like, so I get that. Yeah. I don't know. I completely agree with your point. I love watching it. I absolutely get it. I love the players pumping the crowd up. Sahith Theegala today or yesterday popped on his Pepperdine basketball jersey from when he went to school there. Like, stuff like that is absolutely fine. I agree with you that it's not something that we can expect, nor should we probably expect to see every week, because then it just becomes boring. Like, if every week had that party hole, it just wouldn't be what it is. And I guess, like, you know, that's why waste management has got such a monopoly on it, that they can get 20,000 people sitting around one hole.
There is absolutely a case for oversaturation. And that scarcity, in fact, drives popularity. Yeah. You know, supply and demand, baby. that's
Economics
what it is.
101.
We get it once a year, and that's why we love it. But yeah,
is it good for the game though?
Well, I mean, I think it probably depends on which corner of the game you belong to. Yeah. So I think that there's no doubt that Phoenix attracts a certain type of fan that is new, that goes to golf only to Phoenix because they can express themselves and behave in a manner that wouldn't fly at Muirfield or Riviera or any of the traditional stops on the tour. I think it's good for golf to have the point of difference. I think it's good for golf to have a place where Harry Higgs feels like he can rip his shirt off after drilling a 12-foot putt. And I guarantee you, it's funny, I've been listening to a few interviews in the last 2 weeks with the producers from the production company in charge of this documentary that the PGA Tour is doing with Netflix. Same guys who did Drive to Survive. So they don't work for Netflix. They're an intermediary production company that do it. And they've been talking a lot about, like, what is their goal, and that this documentary that they're doing, much like what Drive to Survive was, isn't for you and me. To be fair, it's probably a lot more for you and me than it is for a lot of other golf fans, but it's definitely not for the rusted-ons.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I saw one of the guys who is the producer who's been interviewed, he was on Twitter today saying that they've been at Phoenix. And obviously some of the people that they're following are Harry Higgs, who's involved in the documentary. And so I have no doubt, I've next to no doubt, that the first episode that they'll play will be Phoenix, because they've got, he said in one of these interviews, we've got 5 minutes, much like we had in Drive to Survive, the first episode, the pilot, we've got 5 minutes. If we don't get you inside 5 minutes, we're cooked. And so what's short of the majors, and they'll have some great stuff at St Andrews this year, they'll have some awesome stuff at Augusta, as they always do, but for the person who is scrolling through Netflix and says, shit, I'll give this a crack, what do you think it's going to be? Do you think it's going to be Sam Ryder draining an ace and literally being showered in beer? Of course that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
And that's who it's good for.
Yeah. I think the challenge with that Netflix series as well, and I was thinking about it because I listened to that. I'm assuming you're talking about the No Laying Up one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking about it, and I was like, why did I like Drive to Survive? Like, what got me into it? And it was the characters. Like, it was Gunter. It was all those guys that, you know, we recall now. But most importantly, the fucking umbrella. Where am I going with this? The sport of Formula One is naturally interesting. You've got guys who drive cars at 350 k's an hour, wheel to wheel, rim to rim.
It's sidebar. It's the only sport I actually define as motorsport. Everyone else is just driving a car. I drive a car. You drive a car. These guys drive it at 350 k's an hour. So that's sport.
Yeah. Golf could not be further on the other end of the spectrum. And I think that's what this Netflix series really has to demonstrate, is a sense of excitement about the sport, because like we watch golf in part, and I'll be honest, like there are tournaments that I don't really want to watch sometimes, but we have to because we want to talk about it on a podcast, right? Like I'll be honest in that. Like, do I want to sit there and watch the fucking Sanderson Farms Championship? No, like I couldn't care less about it ultimately, right? But so golf has a lot of people who watch it because they love the sport and the feeling of it, but it has this speaks to a broader issue that the game has. It's got a long, long way to bring new people into the sport. And the upside that golf has over Formula One is that this Netflix series can target and hit a huge demographic of people who can then go and participate in the sport. Like I can't go down to Barbagallo Raceway and jump in a Formula One car, right? But I can go to Wembley and play 18 holes after watching this series and being, for lack of a term, inspired by it. So I think there's some massive upside to it, but it's got to do exactly the job that you're saying. It's got to grab people straight away, and it was a really interesting interview that the No Laying Up guys did about it. So I don't know if that's on the mark with your thinking.
Yeah. So for me, it's similar, and I do agree with the point that the barrier to entry is a lot lower than it is for, say, Formula One. My concern is that the result of Drive to Survive has not been people taking up race car driving. The result of Drive to Survive has been people taking up the watching and viewing of Formula One.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so if you extrapolate that, and that's the same cause and effect that you see off the back of the PGA Tour, the problem is that the production company came in and did a documentary about a sport, to its credit, that was already incredibly well run as a piece of content. Like their broadcast is phenomenal. It's not as if off the back of Drive to Survive. Now they have made some improvements. Yeah. And I think, to be fair, what the guy said in that interview was the biggest thing they've done is they've actually started to cover some other people in the sport, because the documentary has shown that people are interested in guys like Gunther. But they were already doing a great job with their product. It was just, they had a very focused audience. So this is my concern, right, is that all these people are going to watch 5 minutes of Harry Higgs and Joel Damon getting around shirtless on the 16th green at Phoenix and go, shit, let's tune in.
Yeah.
And the product is shit. Like they treat viewers with contempt. Like, that's my concern. What I do think it has going for it, I have complete faith in the guys doing it, because they've shown us they've got form. Drive to Survive is unreal. It's one of the best pieces. I wouldn't even say of sport, like sport TV, of just TV. Like the whole way they put it together and build the narrative, the storyline's phenomenal. The one common thread I see is that it shares a commonality in that golf is a sport, much like F1 was, that the broader population had a perception about, and that perception was changed through the documentary. And I have no doubt that that's the same here. There is a broader perception of what golf is for a lot of people, as you know, much like, and to be fair, it's probably similar in the sense of old, stuffy, white, rich people. That I think there's a lot of commonality between the perceptions as well. So has a great opportunity to break down the perceptions, has a great opportunity to drive people to the product. Its retention, I think, will be the issue, because of what consistently what we see week in, week out. But very exciting product. Very exciting that they were there in Phoenix, and look forward to that being the entirety of the first episode when it comes out.
Yeah, no, it's a very good point. I'm looking forward to it as well. I think you've hit the nail on the head, because it does need to do a job, and it does need to drive eyeballs, but the product needs to change. Like as a broadcast, like, you know, you look at all those Hard Knocks and All or Nothing, like those original, the OGs.
QB1, baby.
QB1, like all of these sport docos, and even the footy one, can't remember what that was called now, but like all of them.
The Test, unreal.
Yeah, The Test is, you know, consistently up there with my favorite ones, but like the product kind of matches the level of what the piece of content is that was produced. So I think your point is absolutely bang on, that people are going to go watch Phoenix or watch this doco and then go, right, I'll tune into, I don't know, the Texas Open and be severely disappointed.
The 3M.
Yeah. Like the Rocket Mortgage Classic. Like, yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. I really am looking forward to it.
So am I. Just briefly, because we spent so much time prior talking about how we're going to stick to 45 minutes and have blown right past it, as per the men's European Tour, otherwise known as the DP World Tour these days, was the only other piece of golf on the weekend. The Ras Al Khaimah Classic in the United Arab Emirates. Ryan Fox, the Kiwi, joins a small but very productive list of Kiwis who've won for multiple times now on the European Tour. He wins by 5 strokes over in the United Arab Emirates. From an Australian perspective, Jason Scrivener was the highest finishing Aussie. He was 8 shots back, but in a tie for 9th, so a top 10 there for Scriv. Just scrolling down, Wade Ormsby in a tie for 33. Mav Ancliffe in a tie for 58th. Good on you, Mav. Good friend of the show. And then a couple on the miscut line, who we won't go into great detail about. So Ryan Fox, a winner again on the European Tour. That is all the golf that we saw, Drewster.
Yes,
weekend.
It absolutely is. Shout out to our good friends at Cobra Puma. They've launched their irons as well.
LTDX.
Yep.
We talked to you about the drivers and the fairway woods and the hybrids. Was that last week or the week before? Yep. Mid-February. Actually, no, I think it's next week. They go online, launch officially for sale. So we'll bring you a bit more information about the iron range next week, but keep an eye out for the LTDX. It's very, very exciting.
Yeah, get around it. Golf Collective, if you're keen to get a handicap, the 19th tee gets you a nice little discount there as well.
Just briefly.
Yeah.
Housekeeping.
Yes, please.
You brought great shame to this podcast.
Probably. Oh, yes.
Great shame to this podcast. And it's remiss of me. I should have led with this rather than tailed the podcast.
Because everyone's turned off now.
Yeah. So 4-4 golf, our great friend, Dave Gapes. If you're not following him on the socials or on YouTube, he's got a great YouTube channel. So that's 4, as in what you yell when you spray the ball, FORE to FOUR. It's his journey from 4 to the handicap of 4 that he tracks, but a great variety of content. One of the things that he does plays out of the Sun City Club in the Yanchep area there in Western Australia. One of the things he does is have guests on for 9-hole match plays. Had our very own Rooster on last week and had such high hopes. So Dave, to his credit, and we thank him for this, sending half of his followers on YouTube our way, split the episode. So you did, was it 4 holes and then 5 holes?
No, I think it was like 4 holes and then 2 holes.
Well, we didn't get. Well, anyway, 4 holes on Dave's channel, and I watched that because you didn't tell me the result. You left me hanging.
Yeah.
He actually said to me, "Did he tell you the result?" I said, "No, and I reserve any and all rights to defend the honour of this podcast." So I will be doing that. But I had such high hopes. You were level after 4. I come back in the I said, "My boy, he's going to do it." And then it was over like 3 hours later.
2 holes later. Wasn't great.
Unbelievable.
With 2 shots in the bag too. So I didn't even mention that. I had a strategy to save 2 shots for the last 2 holes, which is a tricky par 3 and then a very long par 5. So that was my
strategy.
Yeah. No, look, it wasn't great. The game is not in a good place, KM. It is really not in a good place.
I got to talk to you about your driver swing, because your irons, your iron, like your stroke and your iron looks beautiful. The stroke makes me nauseous with the driver.
The driver's actually, like, I played on Sunday. The driver was about the only thing that worked well.
Right.
So the game's all over the place. But I am going to start practicing a lot more, because I've realized that it's not, I was practicing for a little while there, and the game was getting remarkably better. And now I haven't practiced for ages and the game's gone to shit. So I'm going to get my ass in a gear and get back on the grind. So I'll put some little videos out of my journey to back into the teens of handicaps, maybe.
If you haven't seen that, 4 to 4 on YouTube, and also the 19th tee. And a big thanks to Dave Gates for having you out. I look forward to defending the honour of this podcast when the Great Wall of Perth comes down.
Yes,
and I can get back over there. I will be playing some golf this Friday in a little golf day we've been talking a lot about that got postponed at the back end of last year, and it's finally happening this Friday. It is the story on this podcast at a Brookwater. For the fact it's at Brookwater and many other reasons, I won't be videoing any of it. I won't be subjecting myself to that. I'm over under 12 balls. I reckon I'm going to lose. So tune in next week to find out if we go over. I'm anticipating we will, but I'm very much looking forward to getting out there on Friday at Brookwater and in honour of Josh. So we'll give you a bit of an update on that as well next Monday night.
That'd be great. Brad has reached out to me to ask. The question was, what can I expect from Kieran's golf game?
Not much, Brad.
So, no, I've talked you up. I said, I think I described you as a scrapper, and you'll contribute a handful.
Me and Cam Smith pretty like that.
A handful of really good shots. So, which you will.
I'm a great Ambrose player.
Yeah, it's tight. It's tight out there. So
I don't think I'll be going any higher than the hybrid, to be honest. I think I'll be playing a lot of 4 irons off the tee.
If you've got a slice or anything like that, you're going to be losing balls, as I found out. But
I just hope Brad's done me a favour with the groupings. That'd be very much appreciated.
We'll see.
Very much appreciated. All right, mate. Jack Thompson later in the week as well. You've done a chat with Jack, which I'm also very much looking forward to hear. Finally, might get to the bottom of the Atlas. We've heard from Jed Morgan, we've heard from Louis Dobler. Jack's the third piece of the puzzle, so I'm looking forward to getting to the bottom of the Atlas. That's later in the week, and I will catch you next Monday night, as we will the listeners. Great to have you company.